Jonajan Montinola is a Filipino mom of two kids who has been doing home office for almost 5 years. She graduated in political science and she loves dancing.
Hey, welcome to another episode. We have another guest today. Her name is Joan. She happens to be on our team and has been on our team for over a year now. And she's a superstar. She's from the Philippines and she adds so much value to our team. But anyway, Joan, welcome to the show. And if you could, for a moment, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, first, before I start, I would like to congratulate the both of you and thanks for inviting me. I'm so thrilled for this interview.
Thanks.
Um, so yeah, my name is Jonajan Montinola. I have a very unique name. My friends usually my real nickname is actually Jonah, but
Oh, wow.
when I started like working virtually, I've had this my first client of mine who gave me that nickname that I use now, which is Joan, just to like make it sound more American and
Yeah,
friendly. Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I've been working virtually for 4 years now, and I'm a mom of two. I have a 5 and a 2-year-old son.
Wow.
Awesome. How did you yeah, I mean, your English is great. Obviously, English is your second language. How did you learn English? When did you start? What was your desire? What drove you to learn the language?
Yeah, it's actually I've learned the language not like by force, or I didn't force myself to learn the language.
Hmm.
As you mentioned, it's second language that's spoken in our country. It's more of like um what focused on is how I speak and with
Mm,
the accent and everything, because since grade school and up until college I've joined journalism. So when it comes to grammar rules, I'm kind of familiar with that.
mm,
But
mhm.
when I started my first job, which is like a call center, so that's where I figured that I'm not good at actually speaking at it, because I'm just used to writing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I can still remember very clearly in my head that every time, or the first time that I answered call, I would always get like, get me an American, or transfer me to an American agent. Like, I don't understand what you're saying.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was the worst experience of my life. And it came to a point that I would go to the bathroom and cry,
Oh
because
no.
I would get bad rating. Because with call center, the customers will have like the ability to rate the call or based on their experience.
Yeah.
And I would get a bad rating just because I couldn't even like finish my introduction, because they would tell me that speak I don't speak English at all,
Wow.
something like that. But that didn't make me quit. I actually used that as my motivation to get better.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what I did after that was I went to YouTube and I would like follow free tutorial videos on how to like speak clearly, and I also like downloaded an application. It's called like an Elsa Speak.
Mm.
So it would ask you to say some sentence, and then you will record yourself, and then the app will rate you on how well
Oh
you
wow.
did.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
something like, yes. And then reading books, of course, watching movies,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I really worked on with my speaking skills, and I think it's gotten better compared 4 years ago, I would say,
Yeah.
or five
Well,
Wow.
yeah,
years ago.
it's great. What's your motivation behind learning English?
Um, yeah, I think it's coming from, since I've been into journalism. I was actually been wanting to be a broadcaster before. It's
Mm,
just that I'm not confident with my speaking
mm,
skills. So when I got my first job, which is at the call center, I was like, okay, I think this is the best time to actually work on my fears and my insecurities.
nice.
And that's what I did. Yeah.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
excellent. So we're kind of going a little further ahead, but let's back up a little bit. Prior to the virtual job that you got 4 years ago, what were you doing then?
I was just like staying at home because I
Okay.
just gave birth to my firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if you're like if you know the backstory. I had to quit my job, like that call center job,
Yeah.
because my daughter needed the surgery when as soon as she I gave birth to her.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
I chose to really stay at home and like focus on her until she's really capable and fully healed.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you took a little bit of a break from the call center. How long did
Yeah.
you take a break for?
I think it's a year and a half.
A year and a half.
And
Wow.
I was not really planning into like working virtually. Like as soon as we found out her situation, my husband and I like really decided and get on board that I will focus on my kid. That
Yeah.
he will just handle the finances side and I'll just worry or focus on
Yeah.
yeah, getting her better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Totally. Um,
So, what? Just one question that I had is just like you're mentioning everything that like you worked at this call center. I believe like that was just like your time zone, but it's just I want to know like how difficult it was just to adapt to a new time zone because I know like you were PST, but in Philippines it's like just like dawn when you're working. So just like how
Yeah.
hard is to work that way.
I think I didn't find it hard because when I was in call center, I stayed there for I think 2.5 years. So I'm really
Okay.
used to working night shift, I would say, or what we call the graveyard shift.
mhm.
So yeah, it's normal to me. It's pretty much normal.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I remember when I was with the police department and I was working graveyards. I couldn't do it. It was so hard. I did it for 18 months straight, and but there's guys on my squad who absolutely loved it, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like change my schedule. This is perfect. I'm like, how could you do this? Like, I can't sleep when the sun's out, and I can't stay awake when the sun is down. Like, it was just hard for me. So I guess I can't relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with what I've encountered so far, with most like if you're single and you're
Mhm.
childless, you don't have any problems with graveyard. It's more of like the ones who are already parents, because there are times, especially when it's Christmas. So your
Mhm.
24 is already 25th on us. And
Oh,
you
that's right.
know, yeah, so we have this tradition of everyone in family, you'll be staying awake, eating all together until 12 a.m. hits, and you're like in the office still working because
Uh,
it's technically still the 24th. So you only get to like really celebrate the Christmas after that shift, which is already like 26th morning of, no, not, yeah, the
yeah.
morning of the
Mhm.
25th. And the same goes when it's New Year.
Mm.
I've experienced a lot of times where the fireworks, you'll see the fireworks outside, and then you're there sitting taking calls.
Oh
uh,
goodness. That's
I
gotta be
think that's
tough.
that's the worst part. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Wow.
see that. How did you initially hear about virtual work?
This story is kind of funny, not kind of funny, but it's just like a usual day. My daughter is already sleeping at that time, and I was scrolling through my Facebook feed,
Mhm.
and I came across a page. It's called FH Moms, stands for Filipina Home-Based Moms.
Mm.
And when I like read the group description, it says it's about like moms. It's a support group of moms who wants to work home-based.
Mhm.
And I kind of joined that, and it's a big help because like they've guided me on which websites you can apply and what do you need to do, and they even have like a tutorial videos and stuff. So that's where I got a hint. But everything after that, it's pure hard work.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I did everything by myself. Basically, no one taught me how to do this and that.
Mm. Yeah. You are a
Wow.
pretty proactive person for sure. Did you have
Yeah.
something,
Wow.
Fernando?
Yeah, that was really good, John. And So, how do you balance just being a mom and being just like working and everything? It's just like I know it must be just like somehow easier just to
Yeah.
work for home, but it's like
Mm,
how hard is it just like for you?
right.
No, I always get this question, like even my neighbors, they would ask me like, "Do you still sleep? Like,
Yeah.
how do you balance everything?" And that's, I think, that's where I find the beauty of working graveyard shift, because I can assure that at this hour, no kids will be running around
Yeah.
bugging me. I can focus on my work, and then I make sure that once I log off, I will be completely my character will be completely changed into just a mom and
Yeah.
everything.
Mm.
I will just focus on the rest of my time with them. So I think that's how I basically balance everything. And then I have created routines for both me and my kids. Like, okay, when this hour struck, this is what
Hmm.
we'll be doing until this hour. And then
Yeah.
next, so yeah, so sort of like creating a
Sure.
routine, which
Hmm.
Wow.
which became a habit, which is why like everything just went smoothly. Like everything, you're doing the same thing and you didn't know that you're actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, how did you like what made you want to develop these habits and things like that? What drove you in that direction? What helped you to do that?
Well, first, having a supportive partner definitely helps, who
Hmm.
understands
Yeah.
where you're coming from and your work situation, because right now he's doing the same thing as me. So yeah, it's a teamwork, team effort. uh I cannot do it by myself. Basically, I need
Yeah.
somebody to help me.
Does he
um
work the same schedule as you, or is he opposite?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
we
Ah.
actually
Oh,
work the
okay.
same schedule. He just logs off an hour earlier than me, but it's pretty much the same. So we've created this like routine that as soon as he logs off, um well, right now our routine kind of changed, because after he logs off, he will take a bit of a nap, and then I will go to the gym for an hour.
Oh,
I'll have
cool.
my me time. Yeah, I'll work out and such. So when our kids wake up at 6 a.m., so he'll take care of feeding them breakfast, which I do before I get off the gym.
Yeah.
I will prepare their breakfast, and then our lunch. I cook them at the same time. And then when I get back from the gym, that's the time he will sleep until like 12 p.m. our time.
Okay.
So on our end, we will study, we will play, I'll give them a bath, and then I'll feed them. So when he wakes up at 12 p.m., it's his turn to look after the kids. But most of the time the kids will sleep with me. They're gonna take an afternoon nap with me. But
Oh, okay.
if they wake up earlier, then he will just let me sleep until like probably around 4 p.m., 5 p.m. So yeah, it's just sort of like working things out with your
Hmm.
partner, communication, knowing where your strengths are and your weaknesses. That's what I've learned so far, that it's okay to ask for help if you're
Hmm.
struggling.
Yep.
And that
Yeah.
way, yeah, you'll know when and where to adjust things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking
Totally.
of challenges and struggles and things like that, I mean, there's some challenges, of course, that come along with, um, a second language. You got family matters because your schedule, um, and then being a mom, things like that. So how do you overcome some of these challenges, and what helps you whenever you come across these things?
Oh, actually, my faith is the number one
Hmm.
thing that helps me. Of course, whenever I feel like giving up, I would pray, I would play worship songs,
Mm,
which would like give me energy and motivation to do things. And of course, just simply looking at the beautiful family that I have, the little kids that are depending on you,
yeah.
that would instantly give you motivation not to give up and to continue what you're doing.
Yeah.
And my husband and I, we love to sometimes talk, sit down, and just reflect on where we at right now comparing to where we at 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And knowing that your life changed so much, and that the progress that both of you made already
Yeah.
is enough to keep you motivated.
Is there something you can share in that reflection of 5 years ago, where you were and where you are now, and what you've learned, and where you see where you have grown yourself?
Yeah, I remember there was a time where it's only my husband who's only working at that time. So
Hmm.
there was one night where we don't have any cash anymore. We live we live paycheck to paycheck at that time. And then so he needs to go to work, let's say at 8 p.m., and then his salary won't be deposited in his bank until like 7 a.m. in the next morning. And we didn't have any, even like 1 peso or
Wow.
anything.
Yeah.
And he was using his motorcycle to go to work, and then his gas is about to like run out. He's about to
Yeah.
run out of his gas, and he was like, I'm not sure if I would be able to reach the office with this amount of gas, but I will do my best. He was really like determined at that time. In case I ran out of gas, I won't be shy anymore to ask stranger for some change,
Yeah.
just so I can reach the office. And he was like, when when he got home the next day, he was like telling me, just so I can get to the office, I was just driving so slow, trying to save gas as much as I can until like I can reach the distance from home to the office.
Hmm.
And that situation like made me think that I don't want to live in this situation anymore. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to help my husband,
Yeah.
and not just like with my husband, but also with my kid. There are times where you wanted to like buy extra stuff for her, but you cannot,
Yep. Hmm.
simply because you have to prioritize things. She wanted like a toy, and of course, as a mom, it's you will feel guilty if you cannot like
Yeah.
give what your child wants, right?
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
That's
Yeah, I get that too.
that's why when I ran across like that group, like okay, this is like my signal.
Mm.
We already have like a computer at that time, so I would always send out applications. I remember once, I mean, I only get to send applications once my daughter is already asleep, which is, I think, 11 p.m. At our time, or 10 p.m.
Hmm.
And in this website, which is onlinejobs.ph at that time, it will only give you like 10 maximum applications. You can only send 10 applications um, every day.
Yeah.
And I make sure to maximize that, limit. I would send out 10 applications, and then um, it it made me keep going because I would receive an answers, or like a response from the applications that I was sending.
Hmm.
But the problem is that I don't have like the earphones, and I don't have the camera and
Oh
all,
yeah.
so I could continue to the interview. And I told my husband, I really need a camera and a good earphone, because I keep missing opportunities of interviews and whatnot. So
Right.
even though we didn't have like an extra money, he was so supportive. He really bought me a camera,
Nice.
and it's a big thing.
Yeah.
Looking
Mhm.
back, I appreciate that gesture, because he knows that I can do it. He believed in me,
Yep.
which is why, even though we needed to sacrifice a bit, he really bought that for me. And yeah, those little things that at that time you don't think is will lead you to a bigger change.
Right.
Looking back, you would appreciate, those small steps that you did
Yeah.
in going through, or in making to whatever, wherever you are right now.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
that's 5 years ago. A lot has
Yeah.
happened since then. Your life has changed. I'm sure you don't have the same struggles financially as you had back then, I would imagine. Um, so one thing I picked up on, Joan, is that you're a very selfless person. I've always noticed that about you, and you're always talking about other people, right? Taking care of, your husband, taking care of your kids, and you want to do things for your kids and support your husband, which is all great. But I'm curious to know what are some of your personal goals? What are the things that you want to accomplish for you?
Oh, this is like a good question. I think I've always been vocal about this. I really wanted to have my rental property someday.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've told that my husband myself, like I was like,
Hmm.
just give me rental properties and I'll take care of everything.
Property
For
management, right?
sure.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course I just before I because I already like lost my passion in finishing my degree. But
Mhm.
when I sent or when I started like sending my firstborn to school, the little fire burned in me again that I
Mm,
wanted to finish my degree. So
nice.
and my husband is also supportive about that, and he was just like, just do it, or just start it whenever you think you are ready. So that's also on my list of, yeah, finishing my degree,
Hmm.
having rental properties, and yeah, I think the usual was just like having our own house and own
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
What
really
the
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead, Fernanda.
sorry, Chris.
No.
Just like everyone has like a lot of questions to you, Jones. But what's your degree about? Just like, yeah, I'm really interested in on knowing. Like,
Yeah, I actually took up political science.
Mm.
wow.
I finished like my third year. I still have like 1 year left.
Oh, wow.
Before, yeah, I wanted to become a lawyer before because of my dad. Yeah, so I took political science. But
Yeah.
yeah, and when I like with my journey with freelancing, I was like, there was a phase of me like I don't have to finish my studies anymore because I can get like
Hmm.
whatever kind of job I have,
Yeah.
just as long as I focused on my skills that are like valuable skills or profitable skills. But it's still different if you
Yeah.
finish your college degree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you're a goal-oriented type person, that it's still lingering in your mind, like, oh, I didn't complete this and I got to get it done, right? And you just feel like something is unfinished.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way too. Even though I've got, a master's degree, and I really, what I'm doing now, my master's degree does not help it at all, right? But if I would have quit before graduating or finishing, it'd still be in the back of my mind, like, God, I left something unfinished. I have to go attack this and get it done. But yeah, I could totally get that, just being a goal-oriented person myself. So going back to when you started off working in the virtual world, what were some of the things that you would have liked to have known then that you know now before you got started?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That working virtually, you have to be mentally and emotionally prepared for it because you're going to experience a lot of rejections.
Hmm.
And in reality, working virtually, it's not a stable job.
Mm,
That's the reality. Your
mm,
your boss
Yeah.
can fire you anytime. There's no stability, there's no security. So it will still boil down on you, on how you will work on yourself, how you will focus on building yourself and positioning yourself as a valuable, team
yeah.
member of the company. And going back, I actually remembered, I'm so grateful with my first client because she's the one who gave me like this, who opened the opportunity for me, that even though I don't have like an experience
Hmm.
before, but trusted me, along the way. But the backstory of that is actually there's the two of us that she's been, choosing between.
Uh-huh.
And um and at the end she really chose the other person technically, but she didn't let go of me because she thought that I'm pretty good in writing. So she
Uh-huh.
thought, okay, I'll just hire you for the marketing department. You're going to be creating blog posts, press
Mm.
releases, and stuff. Because, yeah, before my speaking is really, it's because of the accent. Like the other person speaks better
Oh, okay.
English, or
Okay.
has better accent than me. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm still like totally grateful for that. So I was initially hired part time. So come first day, I don't know what happened, but like unfortunate stuff happened to her. She got a family emergency. Her mom
Mm.
was was in the emergency. And because of that, I was like initially from part-time, I was hired full-time. Like I was like, but my boss at the time was like, okay, because the other person quit and cannot continue anymore, well, I think we'll just have to like keep you or absorb yourself full time, and you'll be doing what I was supposed to, or what she was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything will just happen to you if you're really meant for it. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, the way I see it is just God is just testing you if you would still be faithful, or if you will trust the
Yeah.
process, even if you are expecting this or this is your goal, but this is just what you were offered to at that time. So
Yeah.
you just have to be patient, trust the process, be resourceful, make yourself knowledgeable. There are a lot of resources available out there. So it depends on you if you wanted to improve yourself.
Yeah.
Really, that's what I learned so
Yeah.
far.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets or anything that you would have changed when you first started working virtually?
Honestly, I wouldn't have it the other way around. Like I'm
Yeah.
proud of every rejections, every tears that I
Mm-hmm.
every crying moments.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard, really. Um, Even with the family and other colleagues that I've inspired to like started working virtually,
Mm-hmm.
people would just always see the success, but they don't see like the struggles behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
proud of every struggles that I've encountered, and
Yeah.
I'm proud that it's all pure hard work, that I've
Uh-huh.
really worked hard for myself. I didn't like have anyone to really teach me stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've gotten asked that question before, and I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I needed everything that I experienced to
Yes.
be where I am right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the hard stuff that you're talking about, those are lessons learned, right? Those are things where it's feedback. Sometimes that feedback hurts, but you take that feedback and you're like, okay, how can I change, or what can I do to make sure that that doesn't happen again? Right. And that's how we grow as people and as employees or moms or whatever, that's how we just grow as people. So I love that answer for sure.
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you for sharing that. And it's just like with all this journey that you had and like all the experience that you got, just like if someone asks you like, hey, like how would I prepare for a virtual interview? Just like I want to start working virtually, like what would you recommend them on interviews and just like the way of working?
Yeah. Number one would always be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
um I still do that even up until now whenever I get interviews or whatnot, like this podcast. Like I've told Chris that I've been preparing for this, you know it's you'll never know. Like it's like, of course, whenever you go to a battle, you wanted to come prepared.
Right.
So what I do before is I log in at least an hour before. So let's say my interview is at 10, I would wake up at 8:30. I would just, if you know the company's website, go to their website, s- have a little idea of their work environment and their virtues and whatsoever. and then try to align them, their needs, into
Mm,
what you can offer. That's how I always like attack every interview. Of course, it's a matter of like a supply and demand
mhm.
situation. Of course, they wouldn't hire you if they don't see that you can, that you can resolve whatever they need, or you
Yep,
can give whatever they need. So
yep.
just always be prepared. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met you, it was actually an email you sent. I know it went to me. I'm not sure if it went to more than just me, but I know I got it.
Yeah.
And it was, you remember that, Fernanda?
Yeah, I remember that email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't remember exactly what you were saying in the email or what it said, but we had a position open. I believe it's the one that you're in right now,
Yeah.
doing the leasing. And you introduced yourself. This is who you are, and you're interested in the job. And I remember getting that email. I'm like, wow, no one's ever really reached out to me like this before. I usually just get, oh, I'll apply and read my profile. Those people are like, well, you're making me do a lot of work here. Make it easy for me. And that's something that you did. You made it easy for me. You emailed me directly. You sent me your resume. Typically when that happens, it doesn't happen often, but whenever I get a resume or whatever, Fernanda and I will discuss it. We're like, oh wow, this one should be a good fit for our team. Yeah. And then I talked to Linda and I talked to Isamar and some of the other team. One thing led to the other. So I guess my question behind that is, where did you learn that? Because that's a really effective way of um, getting to the point of like, hey, this is how I can add value to your team.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned before that I love maximizing my resources. So on my free time, I would watch podcasts on some things that I'm interested. I would watch YouTube videos, I would read articles, and one thing that I learned is that whenever you're sending out applications, you have to customize it. Just
Hmm.
do not send out general, like, template or general type of application, whatever. You have to carefully understand what they need, and like
Yeah.
as I've mentioned before, relate that, or try to resonate to what they need from you, what they're looking for. In that way,
Yeah.
you will show your skills, and you can show them um onset of, like, from the email just itself, what value you can provide to them. And that's I think that's just what I did.
Yeah.
And one thing about me is I don't send out applications like just for the sake of sending out. I carefully read the description, and I don't send out something if I think I wouldn't like it, or it's
Yeah.
something that, it's not aligned with my skills. So I'm pretty picky to what I'm also like sending out.
Just curious, like what was it about this job description or the company that made you send that email?
Yes, I actually tried to like before I tried to like find where the start of from the job description, from the job listing itself. I couldn't find it anymore. But I would say at that time I was like really looking for because my last job before this was with the leasing as well. I was
Hmm.
handling leasing, and I was helping with move-ins and whatnot. So my goal at that time is just to like find another job position that is in line with my previous jobs. So
Yeah.
within my comfort zone, I would say. So yeah, and I found out about the company, and when I saw um our core values,
Hmm.
actually I went through our core values, and I was like, it looks like there are it's a type of company that focuses on their teammate, that
Mm,
values their teammate, actually.
yeah.
Which is why, yeah,
Yeah.
um
That's
I was
awesome.
like interested.
That's cool. I love that. Just I want to touch on those core values and training and things like that. But before we do, just as a perspective of someone looking for people for a job. And the reason I'm saying is because I know that there's going to be people in the Philippines or Mexico who are like, hey, what about this virtual work and how do I apply and this and that? So, I would suggest take Joan's approach and be proactive about it, be selective. And if you see something that you really want, go after it. Don't be the person where you have a profile, say, like we use VPM for our payroll, and we look for people whenever we're hiring on VPM. If you don't have a photo, if you don't have a resume,
Yeah.
um, don't count on getting a job, because if you don't have a photo or anything, I'm not going to even entertain anything that you send my way. So make sure
Yeah.
you do all that stuff. If there's an opportunity to upload a video, I know I think Upwork provides that. I know VPN
Yeah.
provides that. You can put a video and say, "Hey, this is who I am. I'm interested," and tell the employer about yourself, because it does a couple things. One, it gives them that feeling like, oh wow, this is a really cool person. And then two, it gives them the ability to see how good your English is.
Yeah.
Because if your English is really good and they're like, what our top priority is a good English speaking person, then you're going to go at the top of the list. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Definitely. I agree 100%. It's good that you actually brought that up because that's a good point, Chris. Aside from just like personalizing your application, you also have to work on your social media presence, not just not I mean not specifically in social media, but whatever
Hmm.
profile you have that you can
Yeah.
show them.
Right.
LinkedIn, work on your LinkedIn profile, make it look
Yeah.
good as much as possible, get recommendations from your previous employers that they can see beforehand. And yeah, I agree with Upwork and whatever profiles that you have, try to make it look good as possible. If there are like, I think in onlinejobs.ph there is, or there are three exams that you'll have
Mhm.
to answer. First is your English skills. It will test your English skills and it will show your how good you are. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so work on those. Make sure your profile looks good, and that will definitely help.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I'll just say one more thing. So the email and resume thing that Joan sent to me, definitely use that strategy. The other thing that, so when I hired my first virtual team member, one thing that she did that really impressed me during the interview is that she said, "Oh, Chris, I saw an article you wrote on your LinkedIn, and it was about this, and this is how it inspired me," or whatever it might be. It could have been, she could have been just saying that just to make me feel good, right? I mean, it's probably a dumb article, but it made me feel like, wow, she really like researched me. She researched the company. She read some things that I wrote, so she kind of knows my heart. So I thought that was excellent. And so for anyone's listening, obviously do what Joan did. Use your LinkedIn. If I'm doing some interviews and I have an interview lined up later in the week, and then I see that person is viewing my profile, it tells me, oh, okay, this person's doing some research, and I like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So definitely use those strategies. So yeah, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about training and core values, right? So one of our core values with our two companies is always improving, and that's probably I don't know, in my opinion, I think we focus that one the most, just
yeah.
so that we can get better as people and better as a team, right? So let's talk a little bit about training. Joan, whenever we have training, you participate a lot, which is very, very appreciated. And you speak from your heart. You share some great stories. Tell us your thoughts on the training. Tell us your perspective on it, and how important it is.
I think the main reason why I'm active during our trainings is because this is the only company that I've encountered providing trainings on soft skills.
Hmm.
And I really appreciate it. That's the one thing that I love about this company because it's not always like about product training that you need.
Right.
Sometimes these soft skills are being neglected.
Yeah.
So, and it resonates to me and my experiences, um, before. So I would I participate mainly because I would love to share my experience and my thoughts, and
Yeah.
probably there might be some team member who might just need to hear that,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
in some way I was able to help. even though they won't they won't say it directly to you, but deep inside, it's something like, because I experienced that, like, oh, that is something that I needed to hear today.
Yeah.
And because I heard it, it kind of motivated me, or like helped me along the way.
Yeah.
I want to do that
Yeah.
too.
Is there anything that kind of sticks out from some of the training that we did that, like, wow, that really got me good and that really helped me out, that you're willing to share that people would watch? Because a lot of
I
our training
think
that we do is kind of like we get vulnerable, right? We don't really,
Yeah.
record it or share it. So, but if there's anything that you're willing to share, we'd love to hear it.
what would I say? I think it's like being proactive.
Hmm.
We had one about being proactive, and being proactive doesn't just always apply in work. It
Yeah.
can be applied in every aspect of our lives. Because even if the thought or the goals is just in your head, if you don't actually start working on it and be proactive, make your move, nothing's gonna happen. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm practicing so far. I wanted to get better. I wanted to be healthy. So I was proactive. I enrolled in the gym, and I always show up in every session that we have.
Yep.
um yeah, I'm trying to maximize my time now, limit my screen time, and shift those times to more valuable things, like listening to a podcast, reading books.
Hmm.
So I decided to like deactivate some of my social media accounts and delete them from my phone,
Oh,
so
wow.
I won't scroll on them anymore. And so far it's working. It's
Yeah.
actually
Wow.
working. You would realize that you don't actually need that, or you will realize at the end of the day that you're spending that much time on those, I would say, I wouldn't say useless, but
Yeah.
more less valuable stuff that you've been spending on, and you can actually shift those time
Right.
to, yeah, to things that will make you a better person.
Yeah, those small
Yeah.
shifts really make a huge difference. We're going to have a podcast in the future, specifically about training and talking about training. But Fernanda, do you want to just kind of, for those business owners or even some of the future virtual workers, kind of describe our training? How, like, the big thing is, like, how do we come up with our topics?
Well, I just wanted to say, like, yeah, it's so I'm so grateful that Joan is in the team, because like sometimes training can be hard for everyone,
Yeah.
because it's getting vulnerable. Some people don't like it, and I get it. It's just like I don't know, like we do training focus on what the team needs. Just like if you're a business owner, you just have to be really focused on what your team is projecting. Like,
Yep.
for example, if you see that someone is just like struggling, I don't know, with self-esteem or with being proactive or something, just have to see that and be like, okay, so next training is going to be about this. It's just like, maybe yes, you're focusing in just one person, but at the end of the day, it's going to help everyone. And that's
Hmm.
something that I've noticed from all the training that we had. It's just like sometimes the training is maybe just focused on one person, but like everyone's is like, oh, I relate to that. So it's
Yep.
really good, because I was struggling with the same thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just like if you're a business owner, just really, really observe your team and see what they're needing,
Yeah.
and if the
Yeah.
team gets better. And you mentioned, Chris, just like we focus a lot on always improving, but I think that if your team improves, the team work is going to get better.
Yep.
Also, pleasure in service is going to get better, because
Agreed.
it's going to be I don't know, a better service. So it's just
Hmm.
like I don't know what you think, Joan, about this. Just like how hard could be, just like to talk in the training, just like how vulnerable someone can be. And it's just like, if it's hard for you just being vulnerable with all the team, and most because everyone's virtual and from all around the world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think I always say that, but you're doing the trainings, you do trainings very well.
Oh,
Like,
thank
you
you.
would hear every time we have trainings, like there will be one team member that will say, this is very timely, this is what I need.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
it just shows that you know what your team member needs as well, which is why you hear those words.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Training, there's for anyone who has not done it yet, but will be doing it. We've helped one other company kind of implement their training program, but there's always going to be awkward silence. We're going to
Yeah.
watch a video, we're going to have a question. There's like silence, silence. So it's on the leader to just kind of like, hey, this is what I feel. And you have you have someone you can always count on your team, like Joan. I know she's always going to share something, so I'm like,
Yeah.
hey Joan, what do you think? She's not shy. She'll jump in there and she'll help out, but and that helps trigger some of those who are introverted to speak up sometimes. But I also say too, there's some people who don't like to speak and share, and it's not good to force that. But what I do is I do check in on them afterwards, like, hey, I hope you're doing okay, whatever. But they also get something out of it, you know.
Yeah.
And so don't be, as an employer or someone leading the training, don't be judgmental because someone's not talking to training. Encourage them, of course, but if they're not talking, there's a reason behind it. And
Yeah.
it's always good to follow up afterwards too. I mean, we've had people, on our team who got emotional, and shared some really cool stuff that other people on the team's like, oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. I mean, it's like a support group, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I would say it's my favorite time of the month is when we do training. It's a lot of fun for me. And it's great that Fernanda does it all too, right? Because I'm like, hey, Fernanda, what are we doing this week?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it also like makes you look forward into something,
Yeah,
because just like doing your routines the same day every day can be like tedious and
exactly.
sometimes
Yeah.
sounds like boring. But if you have this type of training every once in a month, like at least you have something new that you can look forward to. You will like, oh,
Yeah.
what will be, this is something new that we will be discussing like
Yep.
on this day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun. And what are your thoughts on like the importance of the type of training we do and the culture of the company?
Yeah, I think this is very important. Because before, with the previous company that I've had, like it's important that you provide these trainings, and that you, as much as possible, you make the work environment healthy, just so the team members won't get or won't feel burned out, at
Yeah.
least I would say. Because I've experienced that before, and I don't want to be in that same situation anymore, where I was
Right.
just like literally dragging myself into work, and it's not a good feeling.
Right.
Whereas you wanted, I mean, personally, I wanted to come into work with something that I know I will have like a career growth, and that I
Right.
will grow in this position, even though, like, I'm just not talking about like titles, getting promotions and stuff, but the things that
Right.
you will learn every day,
Yeah.
is the skills that you you might not know you might need in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I love that perspective because that's totally in line with our core values, right? Always improving.
Yes.
So I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. What else we got, Fernanda? Anything?
So just like one last question that we always like to ask, and just like you mentioned that you read a lot of books and like you like hearing podcasts. So what would be just like one podcast or one book that you would recommend to everyone? Like you need to read it, you need to hear it. It's really good.
Um, I forgot the podcast that I was just listening. It's kind of new, but um, I would say with books, Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's
Yeah,
yeah, the one. Sorry, it's mom brain. I tend to forget a lot of things.
that's
Um,
funny.
so the Habits of Highly Effective People. That book, I couldn't even pronounce the exact title, but
I
yeah,
thought I
the
had my
Seven Habits,
bookshelf.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Seven
think the
Habits of
Seven
Highly
Habits of
Effective
Highly
People.
Effective People. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are the books
Stephen
that I
Covey.
would highly recommend. With podcasts, I forgot the guy that I was listening. just the other day. Because I'm not really like it. Whenever I listen to a podcast, I just save a lot of them that's on my playlist, and I would just play it and listen to it whenever as I'm doing something. Like earlier, or yeah, the other day, I was like doing my laundry and folding the clothes. I didn't even know whom I was listening to, but it was like a motivational
Oh, awesome.
podcast. So I just
Yeah,
kept continuing, yeah, listening while I'm doing this stuff.
Yeah, I'd be
that's very
interested
cool.
if you find that out. I'd be interested who that is.
Yeah, me too. Just
I can look it up real quick. I have it now on my list, so I can like just kind of give
And
it
this is in
to,
English.
yeah, in English. Let's see here. Let's just be quick. Let's see here. Which one is this? Anyway, you guys can like think of other possible questions related to like working virtually. You might have. Okay, so I have the name. The guy is Jim Ron. So it's about
Oh
personal
yeah,
development.
I haven't heard. So he's got a podcast then, huh? I haven't heard him, but I've seen him on Facebook a
I
lot.
Yeah, I think he has like, he doesn't have a podcast, but he
Mm,
uploads YouTube videos of his whenever he speaks.
got it.
Yeah, like
Makes
English
sense.
speaking.
Excellent.
okay. So yeah, I'll hear it because yeah, Chris sends me a lot of podcast names and everything. So it's just like I have a huge list there, so I'll include it to my list. Thank you, Joe.
That's funny.
No, but just
Yeah, and the latest one that I just listened, I think it was just yesterday, that I feel like can resonate with, working virtual in a virtual situation, is that you can make money if you work hard um on your job, but you can make a profit if you work hard on yourself. So it's not
Wow.
just always about working hard, or
Mm,
like doing everything on the job itself, but yeah, more of like focusing on yourself. And that's my goal, like in the following months, just
that's great.
basically focusing on myself in every aspect that I can work on, and be a better
Wow.
person, be a better mom, be a better wife, and everything.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
yeah, that was really good. Just like thank you so much, Joan, for sharing all the story. I know a lot of people are going to resonate with you. So I don't know, Chris, if you have something else that you want to ask.
Yeah, if someone can relate to your story and they want to reach out to you and just ask you a question, is there a way they can contact you?
Yeah, my email is, I could give my personal email. It's my first name, Jonajan,
Hmm.
then the letter M08 at gmail.com. So you can shoot me an email. I would love to, yeah, answer any questions you might have.
Excellent.
And yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah, thank you so much for being here, Joan. I don't know, we're really grateful that you're part of the team and that you're always so proactive. And I
Yeah.
don't know, you give you inspire other people on the team, and you inspire me. So I don't know, it's
Thank
thank you for
you.
being here.
Yeah. Thank
It's
you,
good to
Joan.
hear that from you, Chris and Fernanda. I was like, when I got the invitation, I couldn't believe at first that I will get invited to guest in a podcast. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I couldn't say I'm already successful, because I still have, I believe I still have long way to go. But you know, comparing 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
proud of the person I've become. Still a lot of improvements that I need to work on, but yeah, you just need to get up and start working on those things if you really want to make that happen. And
Agreed.
it's good to hear that I inspire you in some ways, Fernanda, because that's, I think that's one of the thing that I need to do. I want to inspire more people and help them get through,
Yeah.
of course.
No, yeah, thank you so much. And I know, like, we know you're in the right path just
Hmm.
to success, and you're a really successful person. So that was really good. I really enjoyed that conversation with Joan. I think it
Yeah.
was really inspiring. Like she went through a lot, and
Hmm.
just like being working virtually. And I know she said it wasn't that hard just to work at night, but just personally, I couldn't do it. It's
I
just
agree.
it's hard. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it, but she's very driven and she's very goal oriented and she's got things she wants to accomplish in her life. And you could just look back. I mean, even when she was describing her life 5 years ago compared to where she is now, I mean, she's done a lot of work on herself, on, and it all is like in line with her goals.
Yeah.
And so that itself, like, when she lives her life and tells her story, that itself is inspiring because like, okay, I can do this too, because she's juggling a lot, right? She's a wife, she's a mom. Mom duties are pretty busy. You got kids going to school and this and that, and then she's got to work. So it's a hard life, but she's juggling it really well. And she's the way she's doing is very inspiring.
Yeah, and also just like the discipline that she's
Yeah.
having, just
Yep.
like as she said, this is our schedule and we have to follow this schedule. And it's just like sometimes you forget about yourself, but just like the way that she's like, okay, I'll work out,
Yeah.
I'll do healthy lunch and everything. It's just like, I don't know, it's pretty impressive because sometimes even if we're not married, we don't have kids, it's just like
Yeah.
we cannot take care of ourselves. But
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, it's really good that she's doing that and that she has her routine, that it's really important. And she's also getting better with podcasts, with books, that I think it's just like you have to learn from other leaders, you have to learn
Yeah.
from books or podcasts or everything, just like
Hmm.
to create habits. So and you know about that, Chris, like
Yeah.
you read a lot, you listen to a lot of podcasts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. And then, but the other thing too, I mean, I learned from everyone. I learned from Joan. I learned today. She adds a lot of value, not just to our team. I mean, she does our leasing and she talks to a lot of our tenants, but her as a person adds value to who we are as a company and our culture, right? The same thing with you. Like I learned a ton from you, and you're my coach sometimes, So,
Oh, thank you.
but yeah, it's being open and receiving just kind of correction and some guidance from people, no matter who they are, how old they are, or where they're living. I think is very important.
Yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, so Joan's great. I love her. I'm glad she's on our team. Um, not just because she does well in her position, but just because, like I said, of who she is. So we're very blessed to have her in our organization.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really grateful that we had this episode with her. I know
Yeah,
it's a good one. So yeah,
it
if
is.
you finish the podcast, you realize that it was a good one.
Absolutely. Excellent. Cool. So we have a lot more coming up. We have some great guests come in. And so check us out. Make sure you subscribe. And you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, sounds good. So thank you for listening to this podcast. And yes, Chris, just subscribe to on our website, elevationconstructiongroup.com. There's the virtual voice section. So yeah, subscribe to see more episodes. And yeah, they're going to be great. If you like this one, they're going to be really, really good ones. So yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you. Stay virtual.
Hey everyone, Steve Rosenberg, and we're here in Florida with palm trees, beaches, sunshine. You do not want to miss my Business Mansion Mastermind, October 12th through the 14th in Houston, Texas. I'm going to show you how to take your business to the next level, and I'm bringing in some of the top people in the business world. I'm talking Brad Lee, the Iron Cowboy, Dr. Kevin Elko, and Errol Allen, all to help you reshape your business and your mindset in 3 days, followed by unlimited coaching after that. Go to bizmansion.com and I'll see you in Houston.